Hi, I'm Seamless, and this is the 39th 75K tutorial. This one was requested by AsSeenOnPurpose, and it is a sound by Tchami, Tchami, and their song Afterlife. I should really learn more about producers, but this is the sound. And this is the result I got. Close. And this is basically the concept. So I'm doing this in Harmor, and my first approach at this was that I was going to do kind of like the bell-ish kind of thing, and I went with the prism to try and make adjustments to the harmonics to make it feel more bell-ish. But I actually didn't need to do that. I could, as I did, just do this with the harmonizer and pluck and that kind of thing. So there's two parts here. Part A sounds like this. Part B sounds like this. And what's important to note is that there are two voices in unison right now, and not any of the parameters are on. And this is actually just an octave control. If I turn it off, that's the difference there. And the way that works is that if you go to the pitch setting and you go to the unison index mapping in the drop-down menu, you're able to set the parameters value per unison voice. When you have two voices, this means one voice over here, other voice over here, and the voice in the middle is actually what the one voice is when there is no voice. Which is why I put the point there, because if the point wasn't there, it would actually be here, and that means that the pitch is now fifth instead of the one it was supposed to be. But I did that because it definitely sounds like there's an octave going on in the original, so I put an octave there. Just realize that everything is being done with octaves in mind. So a harmonizer and a pluck, that whole business is based on what I have come up with before using bells and added this with this and that whole thing. And the idea is that the way the harmonizer works is it takes a harmonic activity and it makes copies of it in onto higher harmonics. It doesn't actually create new harmonics. It's still using the harmonic presence of the actual set, the series that's there already. But it when the pluck, for example, goes all the way off. Wrong one. This is actually what the pluck is doing. And the harmonizer is taking the lower harmonics and kind of copying and pasting up top according to this matrix here, which I honestly literally right-clicked and hit randomize matrix until I got something I liked. Which this isn't even really that far away from the default position anyway, but it works out. You might be thinking, how does this have that bellish metallic quality while still being in the same rigid series of harmonic control? And the answer to that is that while they are harmonics, they're not really musical. What I mean by that is that they are multiples of the fundamental, but as you get beyond the first like 10 or so harmonics, they stop being divisions that land you somewhere that's an actual note that we expect on the chromatic scale. The chromatic scale, to pronounce the word correctly. And so the divisions, while they are, you know, multiples and all that, they're like in between notes, and especially the higher harmonics, they're not even close to being real notes. There are still octaves and the notes are still there, but there's plenty in between that are not fully there. So that's why some of that works. And it's also why when I solo the first part, we have a more kind of organy sounding thing, because the first couple octaves are even active, and those are still doing that whole idea, which is basically what organs sound like. I just realized some things that might have just made everything I said full of shit. But point being, put the pluck on, put the harmonizer afterwards, and you get this kind of bell-like decay going on. Now, they're both on square side. Initially, I actually had it on the saw side, and what's interesting about that is because of the octave positioned with the two voices, it's actually creating, in post, but it all combined, a saw-type series, sort of. And so I had it originally on the saw on the bottom end because I wanted that separation to be there. And the importance of that is that because in the first part, I have these two separations going on. This is why there's two parts here, is that I have the higher harmonics doing one thing and lower harmonics doing another thing. But because of the harmonizer, these lower harmonics are still active in the higher harmonics, so they're overlapping, and there's a lot of presence going on there, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. And then in post, I have some reverb. Not very long, but still pretty big, so that it's kind of there. Without it, we get that. And then a whole bunch of compression and a lot of pre-volume going into the compression, so that's just really putting it in there. Sort of the main difference between this guy and the real one is mostly sort of the high frequency roll off and sort of like the exact harmonic series is not identical, but this is still a pretty close sound. And you'd probably want to put a separate sub beneath this and, you know, compress some stuff and a whole idea. But this is all contained inside one harmonic right now, so I feel this is pretty good for that attempt. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. If you'd like to make a request yourself, please do so in the Reddit thread linked in the description of this video. This harmor patch will be available to download in the description of this video as well. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm pretty sure I said, as usual, have a nice day. I don't know what I said, but have a nice day, please. Thank you. And Merry Christmas, I guess, if that's a thing you do. Later. Oh, and I don't have a camera because I'm pretty sure it's dead. But I ordered some new ones. Some new stuff that should help fix that. Yeah.